We hear it all the time that men are naturally polygamous in nature. However, is that biology or perhaps an excuse for lack of self control, lack of sexual discipline? For today's topic, I'll be sharing a quick insight on polygamy, and I hope we all learn a thing or two. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Shikra Kalibin, and this is CTA Podcast. Stay tuned. Evolutionary biology states that males are wired to spread their seeds, and the female sexual desire is also very strong. However, in today's society, it is culturally suppressed. So that means if males are wired to spread their seeds, females are also wired to receive. And polygamy in the ancient times served different purposes. It was associated with population growth, labor, alliances, and also it was also associated with status. So that means more wife equates more wealth, and more wealth equates more respect in the society. However, in today's society, most men have the mentality that because they are polygamous in nature, automatically they lack self discipline. And they also have this ideology that if they are polygamous in nature, that means that women are also monogamous in nature. But that's not the case. There's a huge difference between sexual desire and behavior. Human desires are biological and behavior is a choice. So, desire is sexual temptation, sexual attraction, which is driven by instinct or impulse. And according to biology, both female and male cannot always control what they are attracted to. However, acting on that desire is human behavior. And our behavior are shaped by our values, self awareness, discipline, and also our background. Because as humans, we do not act on instinct or impulse. Animals act on instinct or impulse because all they do is they eat, mate, fight, and reproduce. And for humans, we have the ability to think critically and also associate our actions with their long term consequences. So let's say, for example, you're walking down the street, you smell fresh bread. Wanting to buy that bread is called desire. But if you are on a weight loss journey, or perhaps let's assume that you fasted, you hold back. Holding back is called self discipline. So the same thing applies to sexual desires. Wanting more than one sexual partner does not mean you have to act on it. It's about having sexual discipline and self control. And self control is not holding back your feelings for someone. Instead, it's about knowing what's best for your relationship, your future, integrity, and the legacy you want to leave behind for your children. Of course, we all have sexual desires, and as I mentioned before, acting on those desires is defined by your character. Animals act on instinct or impulse, and humans have the ability to choose. Yes, men have biological impulses, but so do women. So, as a society, we need to stop justifying men infidelity, disloyalty, and lack of commitment in a relationship by stating men are polygamous in nature. We digress a little bit and talk about what's happening in today's world because at the end of the day, whether or not men are polygamous by nature, the society that we all live in now acts like it. We now have what is called casual hookup. And in the casual hookup culture, having casual sex is fun, and in fact, men having more than one sexual partner is celebrated and expected. The casual hookup culture sees loyalty as boring and glorifies quantity over quality. The hookup culture encourages experience over emotional connection, and relationships are often short term and convenience based. So it's not that men cannot commit in the relationship, it's because the hookup culture that is being celebrated in our society today tells them they don't have to. Dating apps have created the illusion of endless options. After all, people are just a swipe away, and you can actually shop for new partners just like you shop on Amazon, Temu, eBay, or Shein. The constant access to new people has also created the mindset of the grass is greener on the other side for most men. Hence, most men find it hard to commit in their relationship. And emotional connection is being replaced with quantity and novelty. So, technology advancement did not just give room for more options, it trained some men to never get satisfied by having just one sexual partner. Some men also are addicted to porn, and porn consumption also creates emotional detachment. You would agree with me that in today's society, porn is free, accessible, provided you're over the age of 18. And as a society, we have failed to openly discuss the effect of porn consumption on human brain. You see, most men who are addicted to porn have unrealistic sexual expectations. And to them, sex is just a physical activity to excrete and reproduce as compared to building a long-term emotional connection with just one sexual partner. Another factor is peer pressure and toxic masculinity traits. Peer pressure and toxic masculinity is another contributing factor as to why most men believe that they are polygamous by nature. And in fact, if you ask me, the society that we live in for a very long time teaches men to have multiple sexual partners as compared to sticking to one. Because from a very young age, men are taught to chase, chase, chase. After all, the women population is higher compared to men. Women, on the other hand, are taught from a very young age to suppress their sexual desires. So, my question is, are men really polygamous by nature? Or is it the society that we have created and we are all failing to take accountability for it? Because if you ask me, I think the true strength lies in mastering one's sexual desire rather than feeding it. But instead, the society that we live in today rewards men for their sexual conquest, and they are also shamed for having emotional depth. The societal double standard creates gender roles and excuses. When men cheat, it is considered as them proving their masculinity. When women cheat, the same society calls them immoral and, in fact, questions them for lacking sexual discipline. Meanwhile, the true definition of masculinity is not associated with chasing one's sexual desires. Masculinity is associated with accountability and having emotional maturity. So I think it's right time for us as a society to stop teaching our boys to chase and conquer, but rather to connect and respect in their relationship. Because the real problem here is not biology nor nature. The problem here is how we have failed as a society to take accountability for raising boys who become men who create chaos and control in their relationship. At the end of the day, being a man is not about how many women a man can sleep with. It's about how many temptations a man can walk away from. Yes, desires are natural, but discipline is a choice. And in a world that constantly preaches for men to chase more, I think the real power lies in choosing one and loving deeply. So the question isn't whether men are polygamous in nature. The question is, are men strong enough to rise above every temptation? Because giving in to every temptation is a sign of weakness. Let's change the narratives. I'll see my next video. Thank you for your time.